All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Full-Time Fit Coach podcast. Today, I would like to say a long-term friend of mine, someone I've known for a while now in the industry. I think someone I probably DM more often than most people. We've got some good conversations going. He has been a coach for 4 years now. He's currently working with 65 clients and his business is growing quickly. He already has an assistant coach on board as well as a mindset coach, and they help career-driven men and women transform their bodies and minds to become disciplined with fitness for the long term. He is very smart. He's a very smart guy. He's going to outbrain me on this podcast, I guarantee it. He attended University of Michigan. He has his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. I can't even get it out. And a master's in business management as well. Not only that, while he was doing that, he dedicated himself to going full-time as an online fitness coach before his graduation, and he did it. In early 2022, he moved out to Houston, and a year later, he relocated to Austin, Texas, where he is now, to put himself in the optimal environment to scale and grow his business and his impact, with an aim to inspire as many people as possible to live their best life, meaning fulfilling or feeling healthy and great about how they look, as well as finding fulfillment in what they do. I have with us the man, the myth, the legend, feared by sushi establishments across the United States and probably globally, Mr. Zach Wine. Welcome to the show.
Hey, well, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Dude, absolutely. So I want to jump right into this. You are someone who I can already attest. When you put your mind to something and you say you're going to do it, you go in with a tenacity that I think most entrepreneurs need. I remember knowing you. I believe you were still in college at the time working on launching when things were getting started up, and watching you scale your business and just kind of decide to go for it. It was a very quick rise to success. What was that like, kind of deciding in college with all this other stuff going on, which could easily have been an excuse to put it off or wait for a better time? What, first of all, drove you to kind of start there? And then what allowed you to see success amidst such a busy, hectic time in your life, launching an online coaching business?
Yeah, so that's a very big question. I'll try to my best to answer it. I feel there's a lot of things I can say, but first of all, I've been lifting for 9 years now. At the time of me starting my business, I had been obsessed with lifting and just developing my body, just like feeling good about myself for 6 years at that point. I wasn't on social media up until I started coaching. I actually started social media thinking about, I was going to do this for coaching. I was not somebody who was just doing this, like posting for years and years. And then I was like, I'm going to start coaching now. I was very intentional about me starting the social media. There was a strategy behind it. And I just thought to myself, well, this is something I've always wanted to do. And I started actually during lockdown. You guys know we had the pandemic. I don't know if that needs to be cut out.
But I think it's good. I think we can use it.
But yeah, like I'd always followed people on Instagram and social media, like fitness people. It inspired me. And it always had been something I wanted to do. But I finally, when that happened, I had a lot of time in my hands, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. And I started just posting consistently, giving a lot of like value out, just connecting with people. And I made a lot of friends as well. I had always felt like I didn't really fit in the best, but when I started social media, I met a lot of, I don't want to use the word influencers, it's kind of like a weird word, but I connected with people like myself. And it was just, I felt like I started to belong to this fitness community, and my following grew. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm actually making a difference in the world, which is something I really hadn't felt up until that point, and I was in school at the time, but, I wasn't like helping people. And I really didn't feel like engineering was my calling. I felt like it was something that I had the capability to do, but, I really wanted this fitness thing to take off, and I just stayed really consistent with it. I was obsessive, as I think you have to be obsessive in order to succeed as an entrepreneur. If you're not obsessive, if this isn't all you think about, then I feel like it's a lot harder to grow as fast as possible. But I feel like, where was I with this? So as basically before I finished my engineering degree, I had already decided I didn't want to be an engineer, but my coaching wasn't like doing too well. It was not enough to live off of by any means. It was like in the infancy stages. So I did another degree after I graduated. I did a 1-year master's of management. It's kind of like a crash course in business. And I did a focus on marketing. And I thought to myself, well, either my coaching will take off and I'll be able to do it by graduation, or I can get a job working as a brand manager, maybe doing social media for a company, which is also something I had obviously learned to like. And I just, I was doing my best with the coaching, but I was in school. And then I started to really think, like, what if, because I had a decision to make, was I going to recruit for a job and, go the normal route, or was I going to try to take this full time? And basically, my parents were pretty unsupportive of that decision. Actually, they said, well, why did you get 2 degrees? Why didn't you pay for those if you're not going to be using them? And there was a lot of pressure on me to get a job. Again, this is while I'm in school, like looking for job postings. And then I had this revelation. I was like, well, what if me getting a job, because my parents were saying you should get a job and then do this full time when it's ready, like work on this as your side hustle. But I had this revelation. I was like, what if me working this full time job is the very thing that prevents the side hustle from becoming the main hustle? Because you only have so much energy in the day, and it's people who work a 9 to 5. That's a lot. Like it's very difficult to do things on top of that. And I wasn't even confident that I would be able to do that. So I talked with my friends and a lot of, my, people in my support network. And I just made the decision one day. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go full time with this. And as soon as I decided that, I actually had an influx of like applications, and my social media started taking off. And I like to think it wasn't a coincidence. And actually, by the time I graduated, I was already doing pretty well. And I would say I was doing well enough to live off that, like within, 4 or 5 months of me making that decision. So I was, really lucky in the sense, or I made a good decision at the right time, rather than, giving in to just what everybody else does and the fear of, oh, this might not work, I should get a job. So
I love that. And I think one of the words that stuck out to me, a couple of them were like intentional, which was, I think you've been very intentional with like when you did things. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to try this. It's, I'm going to intentionally put in effort. And then you combine that with, like you said, obsessive, which I think is an X factor that a lot of entrepreneurs who are successful have. And a lot of people who try entrepreneurship and it doesn't work for them. It's the reason why they fail is they lack that ability to get obsessive about something, to really kind of make it the one thing they're thinking about and seeing it through to a goal, to hit that goal. And for you, I can speak to the fact that I did the opposite. I caved to that pressure and I didn't go full time out of college. I did 2.5 years as a corporate analyst. And I think it's the direct reason why it took my business so long. My business held in that, 4 to 8, 10K range for 2.5 years while I was there. And it wasn't until the very end, until I really started working some ridiculous hours, that I finally was able to out earn it and buy back that time. But realizing, when you really want to make this successful, one, you can, but it takes that full intentionality and obsessiveness to really dedicate yourself to it. And I think that sometimes social media, it convinces people that it's easier than it really is, or that it's simpler. And it's not that it's hard to grow one of these businesses. It's not very complex, but it takes a lot of intentional effort. What do you feel like was maybe the biggest driving factor for your success when you started taking applications for your coaching? What do you think allowed you to get those initial clients in? Because I know a lot of coaches, when they're starting out, or a lot of trainers when they're looking to go online, the number one question is, I don't know how to get leads. I don't know how to get people to apply for my coaching. So where did you see the most success early on in that?
So the same way that I got people to apply was the same way that I built my following, which was just showing a lot of personality, because I feel like social media is full of a lot of copycats, a lot of people who see people and they say, oh, I'm going to do exactly what this person's doing. And you really, really have to be yourself. You can't worry about what other people are doing. And for me, at least with my content, I make a point of being the exact same way on social media that I am in person, which is just, I make jokes. I just say like funny, weird stuff, like basically express my thoughts and do what I want to do. And I think people could really tell that like they liked that. I got a lot of engagement, and my following, grew pretty large. And it's not like all those people became clients. A very, very small amount do. But having a following does help, because it serves as like social proof, So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Just be super, super consistent. It doesn't matter how you're feeling. You need to make a post every day. That's a thing where people say, like, I was, I don't want to get into like gossip, but like I went to the gym, this popular gym one time, and some influencer told me, like, I won't say his name, but he basically said something like, "Oh, I broke up with my girlfriend, and I took 4 months off social media." And to him, that might sound like, "Oh, that's reasonable." And to me, I think to myself, so you basically did no work for 4 months because of something that happened to you that happens to normal people. Like, guys, if you're watching this and you're trying to go full time with like or become an online coach, like this is your job. Like social media is part of the job. It's not something that matters how you feel on that day. Sure, it's going to be easier if you're in the mood, but you need to be posting stuff like every day and just talking on your stories and just trying to like resonate with people. And it can't be cookie cutter. It can't just be like, oh, here's a boring swipe workout. Like it needs to be like show your real personality. I think that's what I do all the time, and it's worked for me. So that would be the biggest factor: consistency and just authenticity.
I love that. And I think you made a really important distinction there, which is like your social media has become the business, and you and the business are two separate things. Like even when it comes to like how you do your taxes, right? The state looks at your business as like a separate person, and you need to start looking at your business as a separate person too. And it's like, regardless of what's happening in your personal life, it cannot affect what's happening in the business. And if it does, you're always going to be capped. It's always going to be a small business. It's not going to be able to grow very large because you're limiting it with the things that will come up in your life that happens to everyone, but can always be used as an excuse. A breakup, a bill, something, right? There's always going to be something. And as fitness coaches, we know this. We get so many different excuses from people, but we always know, hey, if it's not this month, there'll be another excuse next month. There will always be an excuse to not start that transformation. And it's that same thing in business. So learning to kind of detach yourself from the business, from a posting standpoint, from a doing the things that need to be done standpoint is big. But then also, like you said, on the opposite side, being able to infuse yourself into the business and realizing your personality is what sets you apart. The coaches who do the best, they have that know, like, and trust factor. And people feel like they know and they like you and especially trust you if you're genuine. If you're different and you're a little weird on your stories and you make jokes and stuff, people are like, this guy's like really just being himself. And it doesn't come across as like a wolf in sheep's clothing or someone trying to pull one over on you. It's just like, okay, this is this guy. This is what he does. And I kind of like it. Like, I'll take a look at his offer. I'll hop on a call with him. And I think you do a really good job specifically on your story. And I think a lot of coaches underestimate how powerful the story is. I know a lot of people, they'll focus a lot on like posting content, and maybe even the content's very professional, but then you go watch their story and it's them like bitching and moaning about random stuff and it has nothing to do with fitness. And it's never very helpful. But whenever I'm on Instagram, I always like enjoy watching your stories because they're either like really engaging, like you're good at storytelling, where you'll just like take something that's happened in your day and you'll make a really good story out of it. And at the end, you'll kind of loop it back to fitness. Or you're just in a good routine of like posting helpful content that's like uplifting. And it always ties back to wanting to be better, wanting to take yourself to that next level. And I think it helps because you're constantly doing that, right? You live out exactly what you preach, which is something I'd love you to touch on. And then also you share that very authentically on your story. But how important is it for coaches to like really be doing what they're preaching? I mean, you're famous for taking very few rest days, we'll say. I've seen you on some crazy streaks of going to the gym. But you do it because you know that getting in there and showcasing that daily is like what your clients need. So how important is that, you think, in the overall scope of growing an online business?
It's very important. You have to be the embodiment of what you're selling, essentially. Like, it's not a coincidence that me and Will, like, we're both muscular. Like, that doesn't happen overnight. It takes years and years of consistency. And that's generally the reason why I'm so big on getting in shape for everybody, because it just helps you. Like, if you're more disciplined, if you can stick with something longer, which is what's required to build a physique, that translates over into all other aspects of your life. So, like, if you can build a great physique and you know how to go about that mentally, you can apply that very easily to a business. It's the same principles, just consistency, discipline, showing up. And one point I wanted to bring up about the stories, now that you brought those up, I think the biggest thing is and this goes for just all your posts in general, but you need to think about what emotions you want to like evoke from the person watching them. Like if you would not look at somebody else's story, if you need to, first of all, you need to post content that you would want to watch yourself. Like I talk to people who make posts and I'm like, okay, like would you, and they're asking me how to get their engagement higher. I'm like, well, would you follow this person if this was, would you follow yourself is what I'm saying. I try to post things that I know I find interesting or I know that make me feel good, rather than just like bland stuff. And like Will said, a lot of people, they'll have great posts, but you go on the stories and it's like a desert. Like the stories, you guys don't want to know how much time I've spent posting stories. Like the amount of stories, there's probably like 10,000, I'd say. When I was in university, I would literally post stories. Like it's been on my mind since I started the social media. What am I gonna post next? Story and post. I had to dedicate like most of my brain power to this. So the stories are a huge part of it is what I'm saying, because they represent your life. It's not just that one post you make. Oh, he posted once today. I see a little picture of him with a little caption. That's not enough. They want to be, you need to have people follow along with you and like actually trust you and like you.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, there's anyone out there, even like regardless of hiring a coach, they can find the information. They want to be held accountable to the right information. And I feel like they want to be held accountable to the right information from someone they know, they like, and they trust. And like, I think all these factors play into it. Like having a physique that obviously showcases you are doing what it is you are preaching builds trust.
Yeah.
You showing up on that story daily, it shows them like, hey, if today's the day that I don't feel like doing this, I hop on my story and Zach's there doing it day in and day out. It inspires me to see my coach, putting in the work. You don't want to be that coach who posts like 3 times a week and your clients are there like, hey, I'm showing up more than my coach is. When I was doing bodybuilding prep, I would post my morning cardio every day and people loved it because I would be on the West Coast and I'd be up at like 4 a.m. going to the treadmill and I'd post and they'd be at like 7 a.m. doing their cardio. And they're like, it's so cool to see my coach up at the same time that I am, even though it's like 3 hours earlier for him. And that inspired a lot of people. And they really were like, that is a big piece of why I like working with you, is because you're constantly pushing me to that next level just by virtue of seeing you do it. And so I think that there's an unspoken value to really leveling up yourself. And then I'm sure you can speak to this. As coaches, we run into imposter syndrome all the time. We're like, are we good enough? Like, is what we're creating good enough? And I think that one of the best things you can do for yourself as a coach is like really look to constantly elevate your own physique, your own mentality, your own education on fitness. If you're constantly up leveling, you're going to be more excited to share the new things you're learning with people. And then if you're also sharing that process, it's going to inspire more people. And for you, it's going to give you that confidence to be like, hey, I am constantly getting better daily. And that's the best thing I can do as a coach. Because if you're sitting stagnant as a coach, that imposter syndrome is going to creep in. So, where did you ever run into that? And like, what were some of the things you did to overcome that and really confidently go out there and start telling people like, hey, I believe this is what you should be doing in your fitness journey?
So where did I run into imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
Yeah. I ran into imposter syndrome, first of all, when the first time was when my Instagram started blowing up. I think it was when I hit around 8 to 10K followers. I had this like moment, it was longer than a moment, but I was like, there's this person on social media, me, and then there's me in real life. And I was like, am I the same person? Like I kept getting all these messages all the time, because that's how it is when you have a big following. And I was like, why? Like, I was like, they think so highly of me, but I'm just like this person. So there was a big disconnect there. But over time, I'd say that went away because I started posting more of myself to overcome that. So originally on social media, I was posting just like very disciplined stuff, very value-based captions. And then at some point I realized people want to see like the funny stuff. They want to see the personality. And when I started doing that, that's when I felt like, okay, this person on social media is me, like 100%. And that kind of erased the imposter syndrome with that. I felt imposter syndrome again, I would say when I was in Will was coaching me in terms of business. And when I started working with him, my business started, growing pretty fast. He gave me some good advice. And I just, I started making a lot more money than I was before. And I felt imposter syndrome. I don't know how to describe it. Just, I was like,
Yeah.
well, am I deserving of this? These, I don't know, it's just, yeah, I'm trying to like think about how to phrase this,
No, it's
but
good. I feel like
how
it's
I
super
overcame it,
valuable.
I overcame it just by, first of all, over time, just, I think there's always going to be an adjustment period whenever something big changes in your life. And I just had, first of all, I had to accept I was a full time coach. This is what I do. That was very difficult, like not difficult, but it felt very weird to think, wow, I'm not going to be working a job because I was able to go full time with this. That took
Yeah.
a big adjustment period to think, wow, I'm a coach. That's like my dream came true. And I definitely have invested a lot in mentorship. So I just make sure that first of all, I practice what I preach. I still go to the gym consistently. I do like journaling. I do some meditation. I try to like read books, and I just try to surround myself with like people that are very positive influences and, doing their best to improve as well. And I feel like if you surround yourself with the right people, you feel more like you belong. And I guess that helps with my imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's like you said, kind of a recurring theme for you is like getting around people who shared that similar mindset um,
Yeah.
allowed you to feel like you belong to those communities. And I think we all are searching for that, a sense of identity. And if that identity is to become a full-time fit coach, it's like you want to, as quickly as possible, surround yourself with other people who are either already sharing that identity or are trying to share it as well. And like you did, like you said, you are constantly, I swear, every different business retreat I see, Zach's at it. Like he doesn't just like talk the talk, he walks the walk, and he's constantly investing in like up leveling himself in every new version. And I just think that's so powerful when it comes to overcoming things like imposter syndrome and also really separating yourself, because I think a lot of coaches, they will get an initial level of success and then they'll just kind of sit on it and they don't know what to do next. And
Yeah.
the way that you put yourself in different rooms and around different people and even like try different things, like I remember following your story and watching you get like deeper into like journaling and meditation and like stuff that would be like just really outside of normal people's comfort zone initially, like, and you just diving into it and getting out of it like what you needed to get out of it to become a better business owner. I think that is, again, one of those other X factors that like you have to have as an entrepreneur, this idea of like it's never finished, it's never stagnant, you never just like get to the level of success and sit there. It's like you always have to be evolving, and each evolution is like there's discomfort that comes with it. So I think
I
almost
can see
becoming
that.
comfortable in that.
Yeah. So I want to clarify here. Like when I graduated university, I had not been surrounded with any coaches. I was the only coach. I mean, I talked to a few on social media, but like there was really nobody around me to give me any advice or anything. And Will's program was the first program that I joined. That was my first time being in a business mentorship program. My first time being in like group chats with other coaches like me, like actually serious about their business. And that was the big shift for me, going from doing it on my own to actually feeling like, okay, here's some guidance here. Like here's what I can achieve, here's what I should be working on. So that's huge. Like if you're doing it on your own, you can probably succeed on your own, but it's going to take you so much more
Yeah.
time that you're not going to get the same level of success you would if you hire somebody and fast track it.
Yeah.
And I I feel like you said something else I was going to respond to. Um, you said the meditation and the journaling stuff.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
digging into like those other aspects of your life.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously we got the gym, but do you want me to just talk about like what I do in a day? Is that,
Yeah, I
I
think
guess,
that would be really cool. Like fill people in, like what does your day look like as a full-time fit coach now? And really kind of more like a CEO of a business now that you manage some people.
yeah. Dude, I've got so many things I want to talk about here. So first of all, I actually spend less time coaching than I used to. So if you're like a personal trainer or a coach and you're the only person in the business, you will be doing all of the coaching.
Yeah.
But what I do in a day has definitely shifted over time because I'm now, as Will said, like, the CEO, I have a few employees. So typically, I mean, I guess in my day, I wake up, do my morning routine, which consists of like a cold shower. Don't knock them until you try them. I do some journaling or some meditation for like 20 minutes. I eat breakfast. I go to the gym, and I come back, and basically I just read over client messages. I have to post on my story consistently throughout the day. And I also want to say posting for me never ever seems like work. For a lot of people, I feel like they don't like posting. If you don't like posting, you're not going to be consistent with it. That's why it's so important to be posting what you actually want to post. So I make some posts throughout the day. I do my client check-ins every day, but the amount of time I spend doing that has definitely gone down now that I've hired the assistant coach. So he basically works with all of the new clients, and I work with my existing roster, but that is slowly shrinking. So the amount of check-ins the time I spend per day doing that goes down. I usually take a couple like sales calls to get new clients in the program. I'll usually attend a mastermind call each day. So I'm currently in two different. So a mastermind is basically like a business mentorship group. I'm in two of those. Again, just a massive community of people like myself. Just makes me feel good, gives me inspiration. And I feel like that's most of what I do. So it's coaching, marketing, and then sales. And I also like to, go out. I actually go out to eat and just enjoy myself at night more than I ever did
Yeah.
in the past. And that also goes along with the demographic of people that I coach. I coach a lot of like beginners and just like really busy men that don't love the gym. Their goal is not to be as perfectly disciplined as possible. Their goal is just to get healthy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of led to a shift of me, like me and Will talked about earlier, walking the walk with what you do. And for my, like, the kind of coach that I am is I'm not a bodybuilding coach. I don't post on my stories like chicken, broccoli, rice all the time. Like, I'm not like yelling at people, like, you have to be so disciplined. I try to make fitness fun, and that's kind of the walk that I live. So I try to have a good balance, and that's kind of like a newer thing for me. But I'm just saying, like, I do have time every day where I don't work, and I think that's important as well, just to have, it helps you reduce your stress. It helps you, it's more sustainable for the long term. I did have a
Yeah.
period last year where I would work all day long up until I went to bed, and I eventually felt pretty awful.
Yeah.
So now I make sure I have a couple hours every day where I'm not working.
That's
At least
awesome.
not working, too hard.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, is like there's seasons where like it's probably necessary for you to kind of grind through it, but like realize in those seasons you're putting in those extra hours to get to that next season where you're able to have a more
Yeah.
sustainable routine. And then that gives you time to learn and evolve, join some masterminds, learn some new tactics. And then you can say, okay, now with all this new knowledge, I'll do another push and I'll get to that next level. I think a lot of people think for some reason it's like linear, like you just you start growing and you keep growing forever, and it's not. Just like a fitness journey, there's cycles to it, and you have to take time to kind of recover, even just like from the amount of work you've been doing, and then jump ahead. But that brings me to my next question. So we haven't talked yet. What is the name of the brand that you run?
So the business is Elevated Impact.
Love it. And then what is the vision right now for Elevated Impact? Kind of give us some of the insights, whatever you're comfortable sharing, for like where the business is at currently from like a numbers standpoint, how it's doing, and like where do you want to take it? What's kind of that next goal or that next level you're looking to make it climb to?
Yeah. So I've been coaching. The business has existed for coming up on 4 years. I would say for the first maybe 2 years, it only made up to like $1,000 per month.
Yeah.
I wasn't taking it super seriously, and then I went full time with it, and then went up to about like 5,000 per month, and that was when I felt like comfortable with my decision to go full time, and like I hadn't made a bad choice.
Yeah.
And then this was literally last year, 2022. That was when I graduated and grew it over the summer. I joined your I don't know what it was called back then, but it's now a full time fit coaching
Yeah.
program. And that helped me get from like 5 to 10K. I think I got close to 20K with that.
Yeah. I think what the
But
best month was, what, 23?
it might have been, but yeah. It was. It just depends. Like we don't collect as many paid in fulls now, but that's like a whole
Yeah,
other thing.
yeah,
It's more on recurring now, so it's like a lot less paid in fulls. Before it was like mostly paid in fulls. Um, but your question was my vision. So
yes.
last year, yeah, the business basically scaled up, and I did become a little bit complacent. Like Will talked about a push. I did push obsessively hard. I moved to Houston. I spent all day long working. Like I didn't do anything else. I didn't go out. And then I kind of felt burnt out. And then I was kind of the opposite. I was like, oh, I'm totally good. I'm going to have, sushi whenever I want. Like, I'm chilling. But then I realized like I didn't want complacency.
Yeah.
So then I joined Nick Hamadina's. He's got a different kind of mastermind. It's more like a holistic coaching. And that
Very
helped
cool.
me that helped me improve myself on a more like, I'd say like spiritual and mental level. And then I felt ready to push again. And I'd say right now to where we're at, we're doing about 25 to 30K per month, I'd say. So our best month ever was this past month. It was like 34K, which was kind of crazy because our previous month was like 26, which was our best. So it's growing fast, but I want to emphasize it's not about the money, because you might think, oh, this is like a crazy amount of money, but you don't need that much money to live your life. And money is not correlated with like fulfillment. It's more so just like the value that we provide. Like the money that you make is a reflection of the value you're providing, whether it's for a company or whether it's for your clients. That's all it is. So I want to grow the business, not because I need the money, but just because we want to help as many people as possible. Like this, the results we're getting is awesome. It's like really changing people's lives. We actually, at the moment, we only do a 12-month program so that we can give them a full year of help. It's like massive accountability, massive commitment. And these clients they're like transformed afterwards. And most of them, sign up for multiple years. But that's the goal, to just keep bringing in more people and just stacking up these transformations. And honestly, to get it to one of the, like, I want it to become like a prominent name, like, like house, not a household name, but like a recognized name, not just you have to like find my Instagram account on social media. I want this to be something that somebody talks about, like to their friends or family, it's like a program, almost how we know like Weight Watchers is like, everybody knows the name. Cause like obesity is just being overweight's a big problem in the US. And I feel like we need I feel like coaching is a great solution to it, whether it's my coaching business or another business. That's why I'm so passionate about this. Because fitness just is like the best thing for people. You feel good, you look good. So right now, like I said, we're doing about like 25 to 30K, but the goal it's just a matter of levels. Like we want to get to the next big goal is 50K and then 100K, but I don't want to stop growing. And I talked about this with Will before we started recording, but I want this fitness business to last forever. I want it to keep running and running. I don't ever plan on stopping it, but I do think at some point I'll transition over to a second business, whether it's, me being a business coach or starting like a product, we've talked about.
We've talked about some product ideas.
But yeah, like I definitely love running a business, and I don't think this will be the only business I work on, but I want to see this one grow as much as it can. And I definitely want it to also like run itself. So I would say I don't like, I know I said I used to work all day long. I would say I'm very intentional about what I do. I think a lot of people focus too much on working like hard, not so much like focusing on working smart, like high leverage activities. So like, for example, like I hired an editor recently, and it makes the process of editing very easy because I'm not doing it. I script out videos and I send them to the editor and he edits them. And that way I can get 7 videos, filmed or ready to post for the week. And it doesn't take me more than a few hours of my time. So like just I guess growing a business, I feel like is all about just being more efficient with your time. That's how you get to the next level. It's like, what are the most important things for me to focus on, and what can I have somebody else do? It's not a matter of like, can I do everything? It's just like, what do I actually need to do? And if you're super efficient with your time, you can also, have free time and just, go out for sushi. It's
Yeah. I love that. And I love that your answer was almost wholly focused around impact. And I think that it's a common denominator amongst all of the coaches I've ever talked to who are doing really high levels is I think in the beginning there's a little bit of selfishness in coaching, which is necessary. You need to, like, I want to make this full time. You're like, I got to pay my bills. I got to pay rent. Like, I need to focus on making enough money to make it full time. But then I've noticed that once coaches get to full time, the coaches who really are successful, they start seeing the 20, 30, even 50 and 100. And there's some coaches who I know who do $500,000 a month in the online space. It is just, you can make such massive programs. Those coaches are the coaches that immediately switch to how can I, like you said, make this a household name, have this massive impact. Really at the end of the day, how can I get more people better results that are life changing that they want to share with their friends? And when that becomes the obsession, it's like a money multiplier. And then those coaches, they don't see that money as like, I want more of it. They're like, well, I can invest this back in the business to make it even more
yeah,
profitable, right? You see like someone like a Mr. Beast with YouTube, and he has, he's dominating the industry, but he takes all the money that those videos make and just pours it into having another video because he's that focused on making that product or service just better and better and better. And I see that with the best coaches. They're focused the minute the bills are covered, they've got their time back, they own their time freedom, they have financial freedom, they can hit up the sushi buffet whenever they want. Then it's like, okay, how can I grow the impact? And for any of the coaches out there who are, struggling right now, or like they feel like, oh, I've got to cover my bills, like just know that like a shortcut to covering your bills is by taking that step early and being like, the sooner you can focus on the value that you're giving people, the sooner they're going to reward you with their dollars, right? People vote with their dollars. And if they're not voting for you with their dollars, it means that you're not giving them value, right? And so I think that one, it takes time, right? You've been doing this for 4 years, and like you said, those first couple of years weren't crazy. You weren't raking it in the first couple of years, but as time went on and you really gave it more intentionality, it did scale very quickly. And I think, like you've said, that word intention comes in a lot, right? You intentionally
yeah.
worked on providing value through your content, through your stories, through your programs, and that very quickly scaled you and also allowed you to then pour that back into helping more people. And like, you've been able to provide job opportunities to other people, right? You have employees, you have an editor now who gets a paycheck from you for editing these videos, an assistant coach who gets a paycheck from you for having clients that need help coaching, a mindset coach who gets a paycheck from you for, coming in and helping with, up leveling all the aspects of the program and providing mindset coaching to your clients. What is it like for you running a business now that has other employees? What was kind of the main change in your day to day when you started bringing other people on?
Yeah, so I had to. This whole coaching process has been a process of me becoming like a better communicator. So I obviously, as a coach, you have to communicate well to your clients. You have to use different communication styles. But when I started hiring employees, I had to. That was my first time like giving instructions to somebody. I mean, I give instructions to a client, but now I have somebody who's like carrying out actions to my client. So it's very, very important that I'm very clear. So just constantly giving feedback and, encouraging them when they do things well. And I had a thought. I'm just trying to remember it. You said what was the biggest shift? I, it was maybe it'll come back to me. But
No, it's all
yeah,
good.
giving feedback, just focusing on activities that you can delegate out and asking yourself, what can I have somebody else do, not what I can do myself? Because you do have to trust your employees. It's very important you can
Yeah.
hire people that you trust and they're a good like culture fit and they, you trust them with your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree
Yeah.
more. And I think, we have got this saying inside of like our coaching business, which is, you can hire a culture fit or you can hire a skills fit. And there's one of those that always works better than the other. And it's skills can be learned very quickly. You can make someone good at a job by giving them some
Yeah.
coaching and some accountability over 3 or 4 months. But you can't take someone who maybe is the best skill wise and change how they fit into the culture of the company. And so if they don't see things the way that you do, and that's why I think it's important to kind of have cultures and values to your business that you present to people and be like, hey, this is like how we do things here. And if that seems like a fit for you, awesome. If not, you're probably better off somewhere else. Because even if you're the best at your job, you're not going to enjoy the work environment. So I'm a big fan of bringing people in who see the vision that you have and also want to chase after it. I'd love to get like really technical for a second, because I know a lot of coaches, they're like, this is all great, but like, okay, how do you actually do this? Like, what goes into the back end of these businesses? Like, how do I build one of these? So from the best of your recollection, how have you set up the business to actually function? So how do you get in leads, get their information? How do you contact them to talk to them about signing up for your program? And then what do you use to actually deliver the program to people in an online format? It's taking a swig. It's about to be a big answer.
So we use a program called Trainerize to coach the clients. There's a few alternatives out there. Trainerize is the only one that I've used. It seems to be pretty sufficient, other than like a few bugs. It's not the best. So you can look up alternatives if you want, but basically my main platform is Instagram. I also am on TikTok as well, but most of my leads come from Instagram. And basically I have a DM setter. So I have somebody in my Instagram account I feel like, I've never said this before, like publicly, but because I feel like some people, like they message people, like popular people on Instagram, they always think it's them replying. Like, guys, it's not them replying. Yeah. I'm sorry, but
you ruined so many people's day right there. You're like, wait a second, I haven't been talking to my favorite influencer.
Yeah. So I have somebody in my DMs who basically reaches out to everybody who follows me, as well as a bunch of people who engage with my content, whether it's liking my posts, commenting on my posts. So we basically spark up conversations by saying, hey, thanks for following me. Are you on a fitness journey? You're looking to start one. And they will, if they're open to talking with me, which most are, they'll just reply. We'll get a conversation going. They'll tell me their goals. And if they need help, we will pitch them on our program a little bit. We'll say, hey, well, I run this coaching program. We help men, build muscle and lose fat. Here's a couple testimonials. We'll generally send them a testimonial post.
Nice.
And we say, would you be interested in hearing more about this? And if they are, they book a call with me. And we have a pre-recorded video kind of explaining the whole program that they watch before the call. And on the call, we just talk with them more. I just talk with them more. And if they're a good fit, they just, they commit on the call and we onboard them. So I don't want to get like too technical because I don't know where everybody's at, but that's how I acquire clients from Instagram. And I will also say this involves doing CTAs, call to actions on your story. I don't do them too frequently. Everybody has a different style, so you can do them more frequently if you want, but this is just posting on your story to get the people who look at your stories, like to show them, hey, I do coaching, and get them to apply from your stories, because the people who look at your stories are your most dedicated followers. I do show coaching wins. That's something we try to do every day, is post a win from our coaching. So we'll say, hey, here's this client. He lost this amount of weight, just to constantly keep it in people's minds that, hey, we do coaching, and they can look into it if they're interested. That keeps it top of mind for them. I do run paid ads now, and this is not something most of beginners going to want to do. This is more definitely once you have more money and you have like more experience. So we run paid ads on Instagram. This definitely helps get it not only targets my followers, but it also targets people who don't follow me. So we get some leads from that. I also found a lot of success getting leads from TikTok lives, because when you go live on TikTok, it shows you to people who don't follow you. So every time you go live, you get shown to new people. And if you really come across well, you can, have them apply for the coaching or get them to message you, however you want to do that. I would say, so kind of like an overview of how we actually do the coaching. So we put them on Trainerize. My assistant coach works with all the incoming clients now. So he gives them a training plan and he customizes it to whatever degree he needs to. We got a bunch of different templates to choose from. And we help them track macros. We do calories and protein. We haven't really found the carbs and fats are super necessary for most people just trying to get in shape. It's honestly just too stressful to have all those goals. So it's just calories and protein. And we kind of just give them guidance. My assistant coach is on hand. Like, he'll message them anytime they reach out with a question, he'll answer it. So we just give them that level of support, so they know all their questions will be answered. And each week they get a check-in. So he records a video sharing his computer screen, going over basically their progress for the week on the workouts, what they ate. And so each week they get that feedback to improve for the next week. And then we also have a really big community. So we use this app called Slack. It's my favorite. I love it. And it's very good for just like building a community. We have all these group chats for accountability and workout selfies and just music. We literally have a group chat for sharing like Spotify music recommendations. So having your clients feel like they're part of a community is like the best way to get them to stay and build value, because people don't just want somebody to tell them what they do. They also want to experience it along with like other people on the journey with them. So we have that. We have a Zoom call every week, like a group call. We all get on there, or at least however many we don't force the clients to get on so the attendance isn't too high, but we just talk about how everybody's week's going and we answer any questions they have. And then we have the mindset coach on hand. Her name's Ash, and she is available to message clients at any, they can reach out to her if they're struggling with anything mentally. This can be anxiety, depression, binge eating, relationship issues, anything they're going through on the mental side, she's there to support them. So it makes our program more holistic. So we give them all the support they need to get them to their goals, despite whatever obstacles come up. And that's kind of like a summary. So like I said, my assistant coach, Austin, he's great. He manages most of the clients now. And my focus is more on getting people into the program, like posting, taking the calls, and running the ads.
Wow, that's really cool. So to give like a high level recap then, so you do most of your lead generation through Instagram, and then it's not really an application form. It's more of kind of like you do live outreach with a setter who kind of facilitates what an application form would do, but in person with someone to then book a call. Is that call through, do you use Calendly?
So we do have an application. It's just like we used to use Typeform, but now we actually use just Calendly. We have all the questions on the Calendly because we found that people are more likely to click on the Calendly than they are to click on something that says application.
Ooh, interesting. Very cool.
When they click Calendly, it immediately says, choose the day you want to book a call. And then after they do that, they fill out the questions. So they immediately know, they already feel like, oh, well, I clicked the call date, I should fill out these questions, rather than clicking on a type form, like, okay, question 1. Like, they don't want to, how many questions are there? How long is this going to take? So that's been a change recently. There are some downsides with that, but that's typically how we do it. So the setter will, if they're interested, he'll send them the link to book a call. And if they aren't qualified for some reason, we can always cancel the call. But we do try to book the call within the next 2 days. So the Calendly only has 2 days of availability. Interesting. Like we also have a form for 7 days of availability, but we typically find most people try to put it off. And if somebody schedules it for more than 2 days in advance, they're really, unless they are super busy, they're typically not serious.
Yeah, and your no-show rate just goes up.
So
then do you ever use because I really like that. That's actually like a really good nugget right there. It's a gem. Do you ever use a application, say for like TikTok or somewhere where you don't want people maybe booking a call just yet, maybe for like more very, very uneducated, I don't want to say uneducated as like their education level, but like uneducated on like your program and process? Do you use that kind of as like a front end to the funnel on those platforms?
That's a good question. I just switched out the Typeform to Calendly on TikTok. I'm not really 100%. Like I know sending the Calendly form over the DMs on Instagram, we're gonna stick with that. But I'm still not 100% if having the Calendly in our Instagram bio and on the TikTok bio, without them having a conversation with me first over the DMs, is good enough. So we'll see. I'd like to think it is, because I will say when I used to do my TikTok lives, I would get people applying and I would close them just with I would send them a few text messages before. But I definitely think it's good to talk with somebody before getting on the call, even if it's just a few messages. I think that's very important. If they hop right on the call with you, it's going to be a lot harder to get them to be ready to buy and join the program.
That makes sense. So cool. So then they go on the call with you. If they're a good fit, you guys process payment right there. And it's probably, is that just having Stripe linked to Trainerize?
So we just have Stripe on its own.
Gotcha. Okay. That's probably smarter because then you have to worry about like,
don't use Trainerize Pay. Don't. There's a number of issues. Just go create a Stripe account.
Yeah. So you want to have that on your own.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then so when they now, does that mean that they don't get automatically onboarded when you, or do you have like a Zap or something set up so that when they pay that Stripe link, they're added as a Trainerize client? How does that work between payment and then getting them onboarded as a client?
I didn't even know you could link Trainerize with Zapier.
I think you can. I know that if you have Trainerize Pay, it automatically adds them as a client. It'll like automatically send the email to like do the app and the welcome email. But you could definitely use Zapier to create an automation based off of, you could link Stripe to Zapier and then Zapier to Trainerize and do a client onboarding way.
I will do that right after this call. Typically when somebody pays, I will manually send them an email, the intro email afterwards, as well as add them to Trainerize. Yeah, and like definitely gonna link Zapier. No, I'm definitely gonna link Stripe to Gmail after this. So as soon as they pay, they get that welcome email.
That's very cool.
I will say we do use Zapier so that whenever somebody fills out the application or they book a call, it lets us know right away on Slack so that my team members can see the application answers. So even if I'm not, that's how I see when somebody applies typically,
Gotcha. Cool. And then you kind of have your setters like in the Slack channel too, so they can see what's coming through.
Yeah.
That's okay. Cool. No, that's really, because I like the Calendly one too. I'm going to switch that up in like some of our trainings is like, hey, don't just do the type form, do the Calendly. Because I've always thought about that too, and I've never adjusted it, but that's really smart to just have get them to commit first and then fill out all the questions. And then you can disqualify someone who's clearly unqualified post call booking is really smart. Yeah. So then after that, once they're onboarded, what do you guys use for the check-ins? You mentioned that you kind of share screens and stuff. What's the software that you use? Is that Loom?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So for any of the coaches who are wondering what that is, Loom allows you like share your screen and a video of you and talk all at the same time, so you can walk them through their dashboard. Which does that save you guys more time than doing like one-on-one live Zoom check-ins?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I bet.
We actually started doing a VIP offer now, so if somebody wants to have a live call every week, they can pay more for that.
Mm-hmm.
But typically the Looms are sufficient for most people. But some people really, really do want the lives. And again, if they're willing to pay more for it, if they value it more, they'll do that.
I guess that makes sense. And that comes down to, limiting access to you one-on-one. As your program gets bigger, you obviously have to keep increasing the cost of having one-on-one access to you because it's becoming more valuable. And then
it's actually so that's actually calls with my assistant coach.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're even like, you're at that top level. Yeah.
Yeah. It's calls with like their coach. I can't speak to other coaches, but I would say it's important that your client feels they have one coach. If you try to act like, if you're trying to have an assistant coach and you're like, oh, I'm there for you as much as you need me, and it's kind of half and half, you're not like, that's not fair to them. They need one person that they can tell everything, who's totally responsible for the results. Like I'm there to support them. They can always message me if there's an issue, but I'm not their go-to person. And I don't have weekly calls because I don't know everything about them. Only their coach knows the most about them.
That's really smart though. And I think even like having the brand, not like, it's not Zach Wine Fitness, it's Elevated Impact, right? They're joining a program to be an elevated impact and have an elevated impact coach them towards their goals. And that's what allows you to scale too, because if you make it all about you, you can't remove yourself from all that one-on-one work. So you kind of, in the same way that you would get capped as an in-person trainer, you would just get capped again online for how many people you could bring in.
Yeah.
That's really smart. So I like, and I guess for community, you said you have Slack, which is like very similar to like a Discord, but more structured for business, right? And so do you use that for the community, but also for like your internal coaches?
Yeah, we have all my employees are on there. So you can have like private group chats and stuff, but the clients don't see that. They just see like, what's public. But I also do that, by the way, so that I don't have to be on my phone. Like, guys, if you're using iMessage for managing clients, it's going to be very difficult to like disassociate yourself from your phone and like your business and your personal life. Like when I go out for dinner, I'm probably not going to be checking my Slack, and I know I'm not going to be getting bombarded with, text messages from clients. So don't make that
Yeah,
mistake.
man, whew, guys, take some notes. That's a masterclass on how to set up an efficient structure for obviously a structure for a business that's doing well over 6 figures a year. So that is, if you are thinking about getting started, take it from Zach here. That is how you structure a business. I guess, Zach, as we kind of wrap this up, what are any really like words of wisdom, if you've got any words of advice you'd give coaches who are maybe they're in person and looking to go online, or they've thought about starting online coaching, or maybe just at the beginning stages and looking to scale up? What would you tell them to focus on, or what words of advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, I would say I was, in your position only less than 2 years ago. When like I said, I was literally the beginning of 2022 was when I was making about 1 to 2K per month. And now I'm here, and it's kind of unbelievable, but it really just comes down to having basically the conviction that you're going to get to where you want to be. Like you don't have a plan B. I mean, I guess I did kind of have a plan B, but I could totally have disregarded it. You need to like be set on devoting all of your time to this one thing. If you're splitting your time up, like if you're a personal trainer right now and you're trying to, if this is what you do, don't be focused on, oh, what if this doesn't work out? Oh, what if there's another virus and the gym shut down? Like you need to be all in. You can't be worrying about any backups, and you need to be, just consistently doing the daily actions that you need to every day. So for me, it was always posting, like recording 3 like TikTok videos, posting, making an Instagram post, doing a TikTok live. Like I would have these things every single day that I did no matter what. And I knew if I did them, I would grow over time. I would say if what you're doing is not working, then you need to change things up. And that can be hiring, somebody for guidance, like a mentor, or just looking at other people that are successful and getting advice from them. But if something's not working, don't stick with it. And just make sure on Instagram you're following people that actually make you feel good and give you good advice. Because I feel like that's a big thing where most people follow people on social media that they just compare themselves to and feel like jealous. Like how you feel on a daily basis is super important. Like if you feel negative, it's going to come across in the way you talk to your clients and post content. So I don't know if that's too actionable, but just believe that you will get to where you want to be, but also make sure that you are making progress and doing the things that are getting you somewhere.
No, I love that. And I think that it also speaks to the fact like there's no real secret, right? There's nothing you're going to say that's like, oh, by the way, just flip this switch and you're at 25 to 30K per month. It's like, no, it is that every you have to earn your way there through those daily disciplines. I think you gave some really good examples of post valuable content consistently on different platforms that you get good reach on, and put yourself out there daily, whether that's through daily DMing or through going live on a platform, and making it something that's non-negotiable, where, like you said, whether or not you feel like it, whether or not life's got you down, you do these things because it's for the business and not for how you feel. I don't think you could have given any better advice to coaches out there who are looking to start. So thank you so much, Zach, for hopping on the podcast. Hopefully we will have you back when you hit 50K per month and you can tell everyone what you've done between this podcast and that one to get there, and continue to inspire the next generation of up and coming online coaches. So thank you so much for your time. We truly do appreciate it.
Should I say my Instagram? Is that
sure? Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, I was going to cut you off before you got the plug. Please plug away, Zach. Where can we find you?
Maybe we can add that in the beginning as well. So
yeah.
Second. My Instagram is my full name, so Zach Wine, so ZACHWEIN _.
Perfect. And where can we find your business?
There is in my Instagram bio, there's a tag for Elevated Impact. So perfect. It's all on my Instagram.
Sweet. And we will include this in the beginning too. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Zach. I truly do appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me on, man.